1 John 5:7. For there are three that bear record in heaven, the Father, the Word, which is Yahushai, and the Holy Ghost, which is the truth. And these three are one, meaning they're on the same accord. He that believeth on the Son of God have a witness in himself. But he that believeth not God have made him a liar, because he believeth not the record that God gave of his Son. Call Halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors to the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. All right, to the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen nations, that have the appearance of the heathen nations. This is not a black only thing. And to the few wakwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth. Don't get it twisted. The kingdom of heaven will be here on earth and will be governed by the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, Amos 9 and 11. Under the authority of who the world fraudulently and falsely calls JC. His name is Yahushai. All right, and the 12 tribes primarily make up the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, despite what you think and feel about it. Why? The records, the evidence, the record in heaven. The records in the Bible tell you so. And they align with history and they align with truth. All right, just because certain demographic of population on the earth has cognitive dissonance and try to rewrite everything in the form of motion pictures and things of that nature doesn't change the truth from being the truth. Okay? They don't want to believe the record. The scriptures tell you clearly that the Lord was and his people were swarthy people of brown complexion. All right? Different shades of brown with woolly hair. And what we're looking at here is a set of twins. All right? One male, one female. They look alike. All right? But one came out pale. All right? All over like a hairy garment, so to speak. Okay? Let's go to Leviticus 13 and 30. And what's going on is that she has, in the ancient world, she will be called a leper. But she'd be a clean leper because she's pale all over. When you're spotted, that's unclean. Thus said the scriptures. But here's some evidence of that. In Leviticus 13 and 30, the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it is skin deep, if it be in the sight deeper than the skin, and there shall be a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. If the dry skull, even the leprosy upon his head or beard. But letting you know that blonde hair is a form of leprosy, a thin yellow hair. So you know the Lord didn't have blue eyes, pale skin, and blonde hair, because even blue eyes is a birth defect. It's what do they call it? A recession is a word that I'm looking for that escapes me right now. If the priest look upon the plague of the skull, and behold, it is not sight deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, and the priest shall shut him up, he hath the plague or the skull for 7 days. So once again, if you're spotted, you're considered a leper. And what you have to understand is that Esau, Edom, that recessive gene, that was the right word, with that pale skin, that recessive gene that gives blue or green eyes, that you basically that is a form of leprosy. All right, and you have clean lepers and you have unclean lepers. And what Edomites are at this point, there are what you call clean lepers. And when the whole Jacob and Esau story was happened, when it actually happened, when the event happened, because it's fact, it's record in the Bible. One came out normal. They didn't mention them because everyone was swarthy on the planet. And then one came out red. All right. And we've done it 1,000 times where you just go into Google. And it's funny how they try to do it less and less. And you put in red-faced baby or infant or newborn, and you know what you're going to see. You're going to see what you call white children. Okay. So.
Born different. My daughter Sharik, she has albinism, but my son Tariq, he doesn't. The very same thing that they were ridiculed about, it being highlighted.
Now see, as you see, they both came from swarthy parents. Now you'll have twins born like this. They have one parent that's a Edomite, one parent that's Jake. And they try to put them in the same category. It's not the same. It's different when two children come from this way and they come from brown parents. It can be expected that if you have a child, if I was to go make a child with a straight up 100% Edomite woman, that one of our children or some of our children will come out looking like her people. All right. Or vice versa. All right. So that's not an anomaly. This is. And it happens more than you think. And people try to act as if they're so shocked. Why? Because they have cognitive dissonance and denialism like these two. Because both their parents were so-called Negroid as well. All right. So let's go to the Bible. Let's go to Genesis. And I'm in Genesis 25 and 19. And it reads, and these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. Okay, so Abraham had Isaac, and then Isaac had two sons. So before I continue, I want to play this short 1 minute and 25-second video about Nala and Zuri, these two young girls. All right. Now they're female children. All right. But born on the same plane in the same way as Jacob and Esau.
They were called the rarest twins in the world. And how they are today will enchant you. When Nala and Zuri were born, silence filled the room. They were identical twins, but with a difference impossible to ignore. Nala was born black, with dark skin and curly hair, while Zuri came into the world.
Now, actually, Nala is brown. There's nothing black about her skin. Her skin is brown. Remember, black is an insult, right? Go look up the definition of black and go look up the definition of white. Okay?
World completely albino, with porcelain white skin and light blue eyes. The parents, both black, were confused.
And so there's no confusion about this. This has happened in the Bible. It happens often. All right. The albino children, which is a recessive gene, which is where Edomites came from, because Esau had this recessive gene and it continued to, it wouldn't get out. No matter how many dark wives Esau took on to himself, his children continued to come out with this recessive gene, thus birthing the Edomites, or what you would call the white race.
And frightened. They had never seen anything like it. The doctors explained that it was an extremely rare case, the result of an extremely improbable genetic combination.
And which is a bunch of bullshit. This happens often. All right, there's story after story after story, family after family.
As the months passed, the difference became even more evident. Z's skin, the twin, became increasingly white, a tone so light that it contrasted even more with her sister. Photos of the two began circulating on the internet, and the world was enchanted by the unlikely and united pair. But it wasn't easy. Many asked if they were really sisters. Some even doubted they were twins. Today, Nala and Zuri remain inseparable. Together, they charm millions of people with smiles that light up any room. If you thought they were beautiful, hit the like button, comment beautiful in the comments, and share with your friend. Likely and united pair.
All right. So let's do this real quick, and then I want to continue with this scripture. Let me go to wow. And then now they're showing you brown children. It was the first one that popped up. But the truth of the matter, that and that's on purpose. It's because of us. But for the most part, this is what Edomite children look like upon their birth. It said, and the first came out red all over. Okay. And the first image that they popped up was that of a light skin. This one. And that's the AI, and that's a brown baby. That's what you call ruddy. Okay. But, well, let's try this. Newborn. Yeah, they're definitely changing these images. We've done this so many times, they put new images up in the algorithm. But typically, the average, what you call white child, all right, which is an Edomite, that's what they look like upon, entering the world. Okay. Not to saying that one of them, someone that comes out that could still be Jake because they have a Jake parent. So you can't go by visual. And that's the point. You have to go by the spirit. Okay. So let's go back to the story of Jacob and Esau. What the record says. Back in Genesis 25 and 19 and 20. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Paddan, and the sister of Laban, the Syrian. Okay. So his wife, Rebekah was a Syrian. There is no Israelites yet. All right. They're not Jayish. They're not Jewish. They're not worshiping Judaism or any of that. None of that has happened. It says, and Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. And Yahweh was entreated of him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. So it's more than likely she went to a seer. All right. She went to Yahweh to find out. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. All right. 2 manner of people that shall be separated from thy bowels, and one people shall be stronger than the other. Which one of these 2 you think can go into the sun and not get sun cancer, sunburn, and have sun issues? All right. Which one's muscular development is going to be stronger and better? All right. And the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Not that the child was hairy, he was red like a hairy garment. It didn't say hairy like that red garment. It said he was red because the garments were red. They took goat bags, and they would dye them red. All right. Or they would make bags out of them, make garments out of them back then. So that was the key word, that he was red all over. All right. And I gave you an example of that. Okay. Let's get that example again. It said he was red all over like a hairy garment. Okay? Not hairy. Red. Yep. And it says, and after that came out his brother, and his hand took hold the heel of Esau, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when he bare them. So he took Rebekah as a wife at 40, but he didn't have these sons until he was 60. Okay? Yeah. So that means 20 years of him humping and dumping inside his wife. And it wasn't until she was 80 years old that he had these twins. And one came out pale. One came out swarthy. All right? Because that's exactly what we're looking at. We're looking at a swarthy child and we're looking at a pale child. And they're twins. They're not really identical. I mean, they do look alike, but nevertheless, that is the story of Jacob and Esau. The same thing, except Jacob and Esau were male childs and these are female childs. All right. And through these two men, because lineage is through a man, not through a woman can't birth a nation. I mean, she can birth a nation, but that nation is not through her lineage. A woman only births, she can only give birth to whatever seed was put in her. So a nation is not going to be determined because of a woman would be a better statement. All right. It's the father of that nation that determines what that nation is. And the Lord let her know, he let Rebekah know that there are two different nations in her womb that would be separated. And then Jacob's hand took hold of Esau, which was symbolic for this. Let's go to 2 Ezra 6 and 54. Oh, no, not 54. 6 and then we read 7 through 9. Then Ashdai said, what shall be the parting asunder of times? Meaning, when will the kingdom of heaven comes on earth as it is in heaven? You know, with the end of the age, the end of Esau's age, who was a current ruler of this present current evil world. All right. And when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? So what they call the age of Aquarius. Okay. It says, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Jacob, the brown, the swarthy child, came out second. Esau came out first. So the first was going to serve the younger. When? In the kingdom of heaven, not before. Because when you read about their blessing later on in chapter 27 of Genesis, Esau was given this current present evil world, a temporary blessing until the kingdom of heaven come. And in that temporary world, he ruled. His rule started with Alexander of Macedon. All right. When Alexander started his conquest, he first led the Edomites into victory over all the brown nations and all throughout Asia. Okay, and North Africa. And then they started parting up the land, parting up Asia. They parted up Asia, and you had Asia Minor. Then they later on during the Renaissance, okay, because they fell that 1,000-year period when Esau was out of power with the fall of Rome. All right, and then when they came back into power during the Renaissance, they carved up Asia more and started calling a portion of it Europe. All right. So the Middle East and Europe, and then they use pseudoscience to further their cause. All right. New lands, new races. You notice no one was really using biblical names anymore for the most part, except for the convert imposters who've stolen the heritage of Jacob and are claiming to be Jacob. All right. And how can you be Jacob when you're on top, when you own and control everything, from the slave trade to the movie studios, and now you control governments through lobbying and through deceit through your agencies. People like Epstein recording people doing dirt that are in high places, and then you blackmail those people into doing whatever you want, and now you get welfare and monies and everything else. Those are the people who've hijacked the biblical culture. But the problem with those people is that they are Edomites, and the end of Edom. Well, first he's exposed and then he's brought down. Well, now he's been exposed and the bringing down of Edom. This is why the rabbis are constantly throwing pot shots at Christians, and Christians are likewise throwing pot shots back at the rabbis. So this is I was blessed with my cousin, the water cuz. I got a Bible handbook series. I got a new, or it's not new, it's an old, but I got a hard copy version of the Zondervan's Compact Dictionary, the first one. All right. Well, they haven't made the changes in it, especially when it comes to the definition of ham. They did a revised version, I think in the 2000s, because this one, they told the truth and it was damaging to their cause. So they went back and wrote out that it took out the part when it says that Ham was a progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. They removed the not the Negroes because they need Negroes to be what they call Africans or Hamites in order to continue their lie. Because you know that Negroes, the Negroid races, as the Young's Dictionary calls them, that they're not Japhetic, and if they're not Hamitic, that only leaves Shum. And if they are Shemitic, there's no such thing as Semitic. They made that term up. But if they are also Shemitic people, then that would give credence and give credibility to the Hebrew Israelites' claim, which is 100% truth. But here in the on page 142, because the Edomites definition is a little bit short, and it starts on page 141 at the bottom paragraph, and then it goes all the way to 142. So I'm gonna read on 142 in the Zondervan's Compact Dictionary Bible. In the second paragraph, it says, I just start at the top of the second paragraph and read down to the end. But it says, Judah lost Edom in the reign of Jehoram when he revolted against him in 847 BC, and then it gives you that's in 2 Kings 8:20. About 50 years later, Amaziah, the king of Judah, inflicted a severe defeat on Edomites, 2 Kings 4:7. That's when he was throwing Edomites. I think he threw like 10,000 Edomites off a cliff and watched their bodies explode on the rocks below. And see, Esau knows his history. This is one of the reasons why he hates Jacob so much. Why they do it so dog dirty in this present evil world that we're in now, because they know this history. All right. Back when we was kings, as they like to say, okay, ruling in all of what they call Eurasia, in Asia and in North Africa, and all those castles in North Africa, all those buildings in Portugal and Spain. Those, by the way, those buildings that people love to go visit in Portugal and Spain were built by so-called black people. All right, they weren't built by white people. So-called white people just live there now. But anyway, continuing, it says about 50 years later, Amaziah, king of Judah, inflicted a severe defeat on the Edomites, 2 Kings 4:7. About 735 BC, Rezin, king of Syria, at war with Judah, captured Elath and drove the Israelites or the Judeans out. 2 Kings 16:6. When Jerusalem was destroyed and Judah depopulated by the Babylonians in 586 BC. And the Babylonians, and it's funny how the Jaish people love to use the Babylonian Talmud, and in that Talmud, I've heard a rabbi say that, so-called dark people have no place in the world to come, and it's the complete opposite. All right, and then that's not scriptural. Maybe that's written in the Talmud, but that's definitely not in the Bible. Okay, but anyway, in the book that counts, the Torah. All right. It says, Judah depopulated by the Babylonians in 586 BC. The Edomites rejoiced over the affliction of the Judeans and began to take over the southern part of Palestine. Eventually, they penetrated as far north as Hebron. This action intensified the already smoldering hatred between the Judeans and the Edomites. Psalms 137:7, Ezekiel 25:14, Amos 1:11, Obadiah 1:18. All these scriptures guarantee the end and the destruction of Esau, Edom. So for anyone to say that they're going to go into the kingdom of heaven is just stupid and unlearned, or they've sold out. Because I just gave you a plethora of scriptures, 4 different solid precepts that tell you that is not so. The Assyrians came into contact with Edom as early as the 7th century BC, when her kings began to penetrate as far as the south of Palestine. Edom, along with Judah and her other neighbors, paid tribute to the Assyria for many years. She is mentioned many times in the inscription in the kings of Assyria, beginning at Adad-Nari the third in 800 BC to Abshur-banpal in 686 to 633 BC. And this is the last paragraph. And it says, Edom figures prominently in prophetic scripture as the scene of great future judgments. See notably Isaiah 34 and 5. And I love to go to verse 8. All right, in Isaiah 34, because it tells you over the controversy of Zion. The Edomites are claiming to be the Israelites. That's part of the controversy. This is part of the mystery. Okay. So it has Isaiah 34, 5 and 6. Don't forget 8. But you also have to put Ezekiel 36, 2 and 5. How Edom took the Holy Lands and are claiming that they're Jacob now. When they say, aha, even the ancient high places are ours. Okay. And then Isaiah 63, 1 through 5. And it says, she, talking about Edom, is the only neighbor of the Israelites who was not given any promise of mercy from God. This is what the scholars have written down in the Zondervan's dictionary, compact dictionary Bible, because that is exactly the record that the Bible gives. All right. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kodash, Kwam Yasharala, Abba Babal.